Thank you so much for attending today. I know that we had a delay last week due to some internet issues. I think Susan has it going well now. She's troubleshooted left and right, and we should be good to go. So welcome to the Vertical Presents webinar program. As you know, Vertical Presents is a monthly webinar program that delivers webinars that are designed to help you learn more about the many facets of communications. You can see what webinars are coming up by visiting vertical.com and navigating to the Vertical Presents tab under the Resources tab in the menu ribbon. Today's webinar is on after installation, how to guarantee company-wide adoption of your UCaaS solution. This month, we have a special presenter, Susan, who I already mentioned. She is a Vertical Senior Project Manager. During the webinar, please mute your microphone for the entirety of the session. If you do have a question, please enter it in using the chat function, which is on the lower left-hand corner of the screen. At the end of the webinar, Susan will answer all of your questions, and you can also email follow-up questions to us at webinar@vertical.com. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we'll send you the link to the recording tomorrow so that you can review sections of it or share the webinar with your colleagues. You can also always access it on our website. And just one final reminder here to please mute your microphone. All right, Susan, it's all yours.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good morning, everyone. So again, what we're going to talk about today is when you're assessing the decision in terms of the factors that are important to you or should be important to you, when you're looking at a new provider or existing provider, I think the focus in a lot of cases is the initial sale and implementation, or what we call the install. We also want to focus on, after the install. That's just as important, right? Not only training everyone ahead of time, getting them used to the applications, but continuing to provide training, continue to providing training tools that are easy to get to for the end users, as well as, from top-down management, adopting the tools, using the tools in the daily business, so that you're taking advantage of the purchase that you made. So again, hopefully everyone's seeing the next slide. I'm sure Rebecca will chime in if I'm not moving to the next slide properly. We're going to talk about the after installation plan, which is critical, what effective training looks like. Again, what different tools are available to you as far as training is concerned. Stepping through driving the company-wide adoption, again, from the top down. The value of a customer portal, and that's becoming more and more important. We're going to see a couple slides on that a little bit later, but that's a high expectation of most customers in this industry at this point. And of course, the critical role of service and support. No. And there I am. I've been with Vertical Communications since 2013, but I've been in the industry for 20 plus years. I don't think I'll say how many years. I'll just maybe let you guess by the picture. Okay, so we're going to talk about components of the implementation versus adoption of implementation or an install as a whole. So again, like I said in the beginning, the focus is typically the product that was purchased, the initial implementation and training the users, whether it's a desk phone, a soft phone, a mobile application, any of the tools that you've purchased. But there should also be ongoing training and support. So again, as it's mentioned here, really a more accurate measurement of success is adoption, right? If you buy something and you don't use it, you're not taking advantage of the tools that are available. And quite frankly, you've invested money in something that you're not fully using. Okay. And kind of identifying here the cost of failure to adopt cost your company money and productivity. So again, you spent the time in the beginning investigating various provider solutions. You've probably looked at the overall price, what features that are available by these different providers, and what training they have available at install time, as well as the install process, and any cost related to the hardware itself. And of course, more and more these days, the cost of software, as this is becoming a more software or cloud-driven world. again, productivity loss. If you're not using the collaboration tools, if you're not using instant messaging, if that's one of the tools that was included in your package, if you're not using unified messaging, if you're not using the presence tools. I myself, I think all of my staff, or all of the vertical employees use these tools each and every day. Certainly makes us more efficient to see whether or not someone's available for a conversation, a meeting, things of that nature. If we don't use the tools available to us, we're going to have delays and missed deadlines. Of course, if you are a business that has a customer service department, which most businesses do, if they can't use the tools that are available to them, again, the collaboration tools most effectively, you're going to see the quality of customer service deteriorate. Okay, so implementation and adoption. Again, there should be equal emphasis, must be on the implementation and adoption to make an investment successful. Again, you're not just going to focus on the initial implementation and training, but training, ongoing training, the days, weeks, months after the implementation. And again, that training may be in the form of remote leader-led training. We're going to touch on that again a little bit later. Via webinars, could be on-site training. Instructor coming to your site, kind of really depends on your business and your business needs, as well as videos and hands-on training, meaning, here's an example of a feature. Let's go ahead and try that. Some interactive training, if you will. And again, just driving home that each and every person in the organization should use all the tools that were included in your package. Okay, so critical provider resources. I just touched on that. We'll spend a little more time on that, remote versus on-site training options. Yeah, the best type of training is what's best for your organization. Every business is different. Obviously, in the last year or so, there are a lot more people that are working remotely. So you see that becomes more important. But let's just kind of look at a couple of the options in terms of on-site training and remote training. So if you opt for on-site training, what are the things that are benefits there? Consistent learning experience, right? You're setting up a classroom environment. You schedule a date and a time. You have the instructor come in. There's a specific curriculum they're following, and it's consistent at that point. That also allows you to choose the time and the space that you want to do this in. It also encourages collaboration amongst attendees, right? So if you're all in the same room, you are going to practice some of the features utilizing the tools, whether that's as simple as making phone calls, transferring calls, conferencing, simplicity like that, or actually using the chat and video features. The perks of remote training, anytime, anywhere, right? Because again, like I said, these days, a lot of people are working remotely, and perhaps not your traditional 8 to 5 business hours. In fact, a lot of businesses aren't like that. They may have 24/7 scenarios. And so the need for training, flexibility to do this anytime, anywhere is critical. And that also allows them to go at their own individual pace. Perhaps there's some features that, not that we don't want to use all the features that are available to us, but there are some they may be focused on more than others, and like to spend a little more time on that, and that gives them the opportunity to do so if they're utilizing remote training. So that remote training could be remote leader-led, or it could be through videos, which are quite effective. Critical training resources. Does the provider you're considering have a knowledge base? And you can see here there's an example of ours on the screen. The knowledge base, should give you information, help the users. They have a question about a particular feature, or they want access to, as I mentioned before, videos on features. They should have access to those through the training resources. And honestly, if your provider that you're considering doesn't have a knowledge base, that that's really a detriment to you, because there should be a tool that you can go to get information that you need, to ask questions, to share, right? There may be a scenario where you actually want to use it as a forum to communicate something that you've come across that you'd like to ask or share with others. And again, here we go. And what should a knowledge base include? How-to articles, just like I mentioned. How a quick and easy way to get to some of the topics, whether it's conference call, instant messaging, using the presence tool, etc. Troubleshooting information. The easy place to go to, click on, why I'm having an issue with a specific item. You can click on that and hopefully very easily determine how to resolve it. Again, the common issues will be shared with everyone. Informational videos. I mentioned that before. And again, that's becoming more and more important to everybody. Videos should be included for visual learners and should be broken down into small snippets. How do I create a multi-party conference call? That should be something that you can click on and it just goes over that topic. And as I mentioned before, a list of commonly asked questions should be available. As new questions arise, they should be added to the knowledge base. And I've touched on those items previously. Steps to driving the company-wide adoption. Okay. Select a solution with a seamless user experience. Well, what do we mean by that? Is it user-friendly? Is the desktop application you've chosen user-friendly? Are all the tools, communication tools, user-friendly? Whether that's, again, is that instant messaging? Is that conferencing? What are the tools that you've decided to purchase, and are they easy for your users to use? Again, select a solution with a seamless user experience. Again, we don't want it to be a huge challenge, but you also want to make sure that you do conduct employee training sessions. Again, the type of training is based on what are your needs. Or it could be a combination. You may decide, well, we're going to need some on-site instruction. Yes. We also want to have video training available to us. We also want to have some remote leader-led training available to us. All of those options should be available, offered to you by the provider that you're considering. Okay, we talked about the solutions, conducting the employee training sessions, and emphasize the company-wide benefits. Again, you made an investment in this solution, so you want to make sure that not only the group leaders, the managers from the top down is utilizing the tools that were purchased. Again, if it's audio and web conferencing you purchased, everybody should be using that tool. And you want to use these things just as soon as they're implemented. That really drives home everybody in the organization utilizing the tools. The value of a customer portal. Value of customer portal. So whatever provider you're considering should have a customer portal. We're all probably accustomed to when you needed to place a request for service or what we call adds, moves, and changes. You had two means by which to do that. You can make a phone call, which in most cases you can still do, or you can send an email to your provider. But what's becoming more and more important is the customer portal. The numbers here, 70% of the customers expect providers' website to include a self-service application. I suspect that's going to just continue going up. I'm surprised it's not at 80 or 90% now. And they do. And most of our customer base does prefer to be able to service them, do the self-service option over the human contact. You don't necessarily want to have to pick up the phone and call our service department and be answered by a service representative, although they can, depending on, again, your comfort level. Most people want to be able to go to a portal and open their own request track their own request. And we're going to see more about that in just a moment. And maybe just as simple as going to the portal and you have a specific question, you just need to get it resolved quickly. Much more efficient way of doing so. And I have touched on some of these items, but the customer portal is critical because it allows you to access the portal anytime, day or night, submit a service ticket, and most importantly, track your own service tickets. Has it been assigned, where we are in the process, when somebody's going to be contacting you or emailing you, calling you or emailing you. You can pay your bills typically through a customer portal, and you can also view your historical invoices, and you can also, in our case, you can view your historical service requests too. So it's not just submitting and tracking ones, service tickets that are open, but you can also review the history. So that's something you probably want to make sure you consider as you're looking at perhaps another provider or making changes with your existing provider. As far as service and support, adoption dwindles when the system fails. To drive adoption, you need best-in-class service and support. Boy, isn't that true. So what things should you be looking for in terms of service and support? The experience of the service technicians. Now, that's not only their experience, but I think one of the questions I would be asking if I was looking for a new provider is, are the technicians certified on the products? I sometimes find that is not the case with some of the providers out there. Perhaps they have worked on the products, but they aren't actually certified. So it's certainly a requirement I would have if I were looking for a new provider. Much like with the training, do they provide on-site and remote support? Again, when you're talking about a cloud-based solution, most things can be handled remotely because you don't have as much in the way of physical equipment on your premise. And very important, do they have a documented escalation plan, as we do? Here's an example of ours. So again, we've talked about there are many ways to open a service request, whether that be a phone call to our service department or emailing our service department, or quite frankly, I would think the preferred method would be through the customer portal, all of which are available through Vertical. In addition to being able to do this, we also have a documented escalation process. So if you have an issue, an unusual situation where you need to escalate your service request, you have an actual process to do so. And you can see we start with our national tech support, or what I'll call service manager, and it runs all the way up through the president of the company. So again, your provider should have a documented escalation plan and make that available to you. I bet I went a lot faster than what was expected. Rebecca, I'm assuming you're going to unmute so that people can ask questions, or was there something else that perhaps you wanted to emphasize or drive home that I didn't mention?
Thanks, Susan. You did a wonderful job. If anybody has a question, feel free to enter it into the chat box on the lower, I guess it's on the lower menu ribbon of the screen now. It moved recently. So if you have a question, pop it in there and Susan will answer it. We'll give you a couple of minutes to put those through. All right, I'm not seeing anything immediately filter in here, so I think that's it. Susan, thank you so much for presenting today. This is wonderful information. And thank you everyone for attending. You will see the recording in your inbox tomorrow, and please reach out to webinar@vertical.com with any questions. Have a great day.
Thank you.